Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. This time we're going to be talking about Silent Service on the NES. I've actually been thinking about doing something with this game for a while, or going over any of the submarine simulation games. Not because I think they're great, but because I just wanted an excuse to ramble about a bunch of submarine crap. This is actually a game that I rented a few times when I was little, and I'm not sure why I rented it. I never played the PC game, so I didn't really have any connection to it. But if I went back in time to a 5-year-old me and said, hey, you're going to rent this game, but in 13 years, you're going to join the Navy and you're going to want to be on submarines. I think my 5-year-old self would probably think that was really awesome. If I went back and told my 23-year-old self, things might have changed a little bit. If I went back and told my 18-year-old self, a lot of stuff probably would have changed. I still probably would have done it, but I most likely, I don't know, I might have done things a little bit different. So in Silent Service, you play as a submarine captain, and the crew and just everyone else on board. So you're engineering your sonar, you are the navigator, you happen to be running the torpedo room, and occasionally you run up topside to handle the deck gun. You do a lot of stuff in this. And I was never on a diesel submarine, which is what this is, so I don't really know how accurate it is. The game does take place during World War II, and there's not a whole lot to it as far as story. It is just a simulation. You are going around on a map looking for enemy submarines, or sorry, not really enemy submarines, you're looking for enemy ships, and then you attack them. And stuff is kind of weird after that. You have a limited amount of ammo, you have a limited amount of bullets for your deck gun, and you have a limited amount of diesel fuel, which is pretty accurate to what would have happened. So a lot of this stuff has to do with realism. This was originally a Sid Meier game. He was very into making realistic simulations at the time. And yeah, I think they got it right for the most part. There's some weirdness to it that I don't really like that much, but for the most part, this is a very good game and a pretty good simulation of being on a submarine. Granted, it's not like life on a submarine, it's just what they kind of did. And yeah, there's some stuff to it that's a little strange that you probably wouldn't pick up on right away. So let me just kind of explain how a diesel submarine would work. They never really ran the diesel engine when they were submerged. You would have to come up to the surface, or at least close to the surface, in order to run it. You'd run the diesel engine, that would charge the battery. Once the battery's charged, you can shut off the diesel engine, you can submerge, and you can basically run until you need to recharge the battery again. This made the submarine pretty quiet when it was underwater, but it's only really as quiet as the crew and as quiet as like the actual stuff that you have on board. So if you go full throttle, you are probably going to make noise in the water. It's just one of those things. It happens. I do kind of miss the fact that you don't really see the helmsman and plainsman, and you don't hear the diving officer and the chief of the watch, because part of the stuff that made submarines interesting was just the interplay between the people on board. I've described it before when I talk to some of my friends, when they say, what was it like being on a submarine? And I tell them, well, it's a It's a little bit like being locked in a giant metal tube with 150 people that you hate. And I still kind of hold true to that. There are a few people that I liked on board, but by and large, it was a bunch of people that I just thought were absolute jerks. That's something that you kind of miss with Secret Service here, or Silent Service here. It's the fact that you have so much downtime and there's so much just boredom and nothing really happening that you kind of lose some stuff that's going on. I think the combat's kind of interesting. It's really the only way they could do it with this, is you have to come up with the periscope, because obviously they didn't have the same, they weren't really able to track stuff in the same way that they are now. So you needed to kind of be able to see your target. You needed to get a little bit closer, that sort of thing. I'm not going to get into what it was like 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. Jesus Christ, I'm old. And how how things are a little bit different. We'll just strictly stick with like the diesel submarines. I will say this: the game is, at least I like it in some ways. I like the fact that it took a PC game, put it on an NES, and it did a pretty good job of it. It's not perfect, but I think they got most of the stuff down, and it works pretty well for what it is. But yeah, like, as far as a real submarine simulator, nothing's really gonna capture like that same feeling of being on a submarine. You're not going to deal with people who just refuse to take a shower. You're not going to deal with just awful food. You're not going to deal with not really knowing if you're claustrophobic or not until you go through some of the trainers. There's no way to deal with, that one guy who comes on board and doesn't know he's seasick and then finds out the first night. It's just a lot of stuff that is kind of missing here, which is understandable. You don't really want that. I don't think anybody wants to play a game where you sit in one place for 6 hours and just kind of, wait for something to happen, or hope that nothing happens. You're not going to have those guys on board who are just total jerks. You're not going to have the interplay between, the officers and the enlisted, where some of the officers are idiots, just absolute idiots, and some of the enlisted people, you kind of question if they should even be on board, and maybe some of them should probably be in a mental hospital or something like that. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. It's something that I was thinking about when I was playing this. It just brought a lot of stuff back. So I should probably wrap this up at some point. I could keep going on and on about just what life was like on a submarine. I might have done things a little bit different, looking back at them now. But I think I probably still would have gone into the Navy and gone on submarines. I know I've gone back and forth on that, but I think overall, yeah, I would probably have done it again. Maybe I would have done it a little bit differently. I probably would not have taken the signing bonus and given up another year of my life to do it. Then I still probably would have gotten out, I think. I still would have only done one enlistment and then got out. Anyway, this has kind of gone on for a lot longer than I planned. So, anyway, sorry about that, everyone. Let me know if you liked this video in the comments below. If you want me to play another submarine game, because I think I have one more floating around. Let me know that as well. And if you, for some reason, liked this, please consider subscribing. Talk to you all later. Bye.